This is 10 Minutes at the Bar with Mike Tein. You give us 10 minutes. He gives you the world of Miami law.
All right, welcome back to 10 Minutes at the Bar. This is episode number 160. And I am here, luckily, with the great trial master, Celeste Siblesz Higgins, here at the Panther Coffee Shop in Coconut Grove. How are you, Celeste?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Thank you so much for coming and making the time for us.
Of course.
You are really one of the most impossible lawyers ever to try a case against. When I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office, I called you the wall.
Oh my God!
Because there was when you came into the case, I was in trouble.
Oh my goodness!
So, how many cases have you tried to verdict before a jury in federal court?
At last count, it was 102.
Stop.
No, 102. Yeah, I had to look that up. And I might be missing a few because Pacer doesn't go that far.
Oh my God! You know what? That's the most I've heard from anyone.
There's a few people out there have more, but that's what happens when you stick around for a while.
Now, stick around in the Federal Public Defender's Office here in Miami.
Right. I started there in 1992, and I just left about a year ago.
Okay, so doing the math, that's
26 years.
Oh my gosh! Wow. And how long have you been out in private practice now?
Technically, I've been out a year and 2 months, but not really. I was at the University of Miami teaching or heading up the litigation skills department for about a year, and then I decided to go out about a couple months ago.
So you've been in private practice only 2 months?
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
okay,
great, though.
Everybody who has a case that they want to try, civil or criminal, you need to call Celeste Siblesz Higgins and get her on your trial team, because she is, I can attest, because I was the victim of it, she can attest, she can try a case as good or better than literally anyone you will ever see.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this. How many of those 102 cases did you get acquittals for the defendant, your client?
Acquittals are hanging, and for a while there, I was hanging more than anybody else could hang cases.
Yes, I know. I remember I was the victim of that.
I remember sitting around the table talking to a few of the federal judges, and they all said, "You had the first hung jury I ever had," and then the next one said, "Oh, that's funny. You had the first one I ever had," and it was kind of a funny moment because I didn't realize that it was not that many people got hung juries, but either hanging or acquittals about 30.
Wow. Oh my gosh! Congratulations to you. You should have the Miami community. Well, let's just say the Miami. We'll call them the client community. Should give you an award. That's amazing. Wow. No one has that.
No, I don't know. I don't keep track of other people's statistics. I barely keep track of my own, but I just do my best.
All right, so now I need to get some of your secrets here, okay? So you're the perfect person to ask for this. Give us some of your trial secrets. Give it to, pretend you just are giving this gift to young trial lawyers starting out. What's a good tip or two for them to have?
Well, first thing is that you can't be afraid of the fear of going to trial. You can't let that consume you. You have to take it on, and you use it. You just channel that sort of fear, and you just use it. Because if you get afraid of going to trial, then you will not be able to get through it. And so you just have to be fierce. I guess my word is fierce, the word of the day. As far as in the courtroom, my attitude has always been, this is my courtroom. And judges will always say, "You're not doing that in my courtroom." There's a limit to how much it's their courtroom when the trial has started.
That's beautiful. Wow.
So I come in and
because it isn't their courtroom.
It isn't their courtroom. It's the people's courtroom, and it's the Constitution's courtroom. And so I walk in, and I'm usually in very high heels, and
something I can't say.
Well, but my point is that I even though I was a federal public defender, I dressed like I was somebody's lawyer and I was there for business. And so I owned the courtroom. I walked in, I was confident. Even if I was nervous, even if I was afraid, I was always confident because I was prepared. I mean, and so part of the tip is you do everything you can to be prepared so that when you walk in, it's your courtroom and you're not going to be flummoxed and you're not going to be rattled.
Wow, and I can personally say that really is the image and the reality that you projected when I was up against you and why it was so difficult. And I just knew it was going to be not just an uphill but a vertical battle against you when we were against each other. And I lost many a hearing, and I specifically remember one hang on and I think there were two. But it's been a long time ago, and I'm old, and my memory's faded
Didn't
a little bit.
Didn't you try a case with Judge Jordan?
Yes.
That's the only case he ever tried. It was the two of you against me, and I think that was a hung jury in front of Judge Graham.
It was a...
and it was a bench trial.
No, it was a jury trial.
Okay.
It was a jury trial. And, yes, that was one of my first cases, and you smacked me around the courtroom like I was a little high school student who didn't even have a law degree. So, but I just want to come back to one thing that you said, Celeste, when you said, when you're afraid of trial, when you're nervous about going in, and all of us are, and still are, even after, years and years and years of doing this, right? I mean, we are.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not nervous going into trial, then you should probably step away. Because nervous is okay. Fearful is not okay. You can't be afraid. But you can be nervous, because nervous means that you know that there's something on the line and that you know you need to perform. It's like going out, if you're an athlete, right before your event begins, you're going to be nervous. You can't be afraid of it, but you're going to be nervous because you know you can perform, you know what you're capable of doing, and now you just need to get up there and do it.
That's such great advice. Okay, so tell us, what's your proudest moment in court after all these years? Almost 3 decades as a federal public defender.
There's been a few cool moments.
I'm sure you have a lot.
There's been some of them were cool, some of them were important. But at least one of them that I can remember, and my science teacher, Mrs. Adams, is going to be so proud of me because it was a rape on the high seas case, and the testimony was that the victim had bruising on her neck that she claimed had been caused by my client by pressing so hard. The doctor had said that it looked more like hickeys. And so when pressed for information, the doctor was talking about how much pressure would be required to make those marks. And I remembered at that point that the trachea is made up of cartilage, and I remembered that it takes very little to break it. Some people who do martial arts would probably have known that anyway, but I'm only going back to my anatomy class. And so on redirect examination, I was able to ask the doctor, how much, if that amount of pressure had been placed on this woman's neck, what would have happened? And he immediately figured out where I was going. He said it would have broken. And I said, what is it made of? And he said, cartilage. And what is that? The same stuff that's in your nose. And at that point, I kind of knew we were going to win, and we did. And
oh my gosh.
One of the jurors later on, we had a brown bag with the judge, and one of the jurors later on said, that moment when you talked about the trachea, that just really resonated with me. And so I was kind of proud that I remembered that.
Oh, that's a great story. I know you had a lot of those. I know that's how you got your reputation. But tell me one thing, though. The judge had a brown bag with the jurors and the lawyers afterwards.
No, just the lawyers.
Oh,
just
cool.
The lawyer.
Who was it?
It was Judge Graham and Judge. I don't know if he still does this, but he would give the jurors these surveys, and they could give opinions about what they had observed, these folks did. So most of them wrote back, and then so the judge brought all 4 lawyers into his chambers. We sat down with a brown bag and we discussed what was in those surveys, and so that was one of the things that was revealed. It was good. It was a good teaching
Oh, that's so
opportunity.
cool. That's cool that Judge Graham did that. He's such a trial lawyer's judge.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so how about your most embarrassing moment, Celeste?
And it is really kind of embarrassing, but it's not unheard of, I don't think. we're so programmed for our objections. And I had called a witness, and they were on the stand, and I'm finished, and the government gets up, and they're doing some cross-examination, and in some moment I get distracted, and I hear the leading question, and I get up, and I go, leading! And then the judge and the attorney both look at me like, you're kidding, right? And I went, oh, yeah, we're on cross. Sorry, withdrawn.
That's funny.
I was a little embarrassed, but I guess it can happen.
Gosh, if that was your most embarrassing moment, then you don't want to hear my most embarrassing moments, because I've got like 50 that are worse than that. But that's why I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me as one of Miami's leading trial lawyers. Who was the prosecutor on the case?
I can't tell you. I don't really remember. I know it was Judge Huck, because Judge Huck looked at me like I had like a horn coming out of my head, and rightfully so. I don't remember. I was just so mortified, and then I went, I'm just going to sit down now. Yeah.
All right, so last question, because it's 10 minutes at the bar, so we're at the 10-minute mark.
Yep.
So last question is, do you have a saying or a mantra or a words to live by that you kind of use as a guide in your law practice, Celeste?
I go back to this word because I really like it. Be fierce, be strong, and that just takes me through. Just be fierce and be strong. Don't be afraid.
Such good advice. What an honor to have this opportunity to talk with you, and such a great trial lawyer. And I'm so glad that you are in private practice now. It's a huge loss for the public defender, the federal public defender here in Miami, but they are obviously one of the best in the nation, if not the best in the nation, and have a lot of great trial lawyers. But I'm really looking forward to co-counseling with you now that you're out.
And we'd be on the same side.
It's so much better for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste.
And thank you.
Everybody call Celeste when they need a trial lawyer.